We just had the best event at the Fitler Club, and I want to acknowledge a few people who are here. So, my name is Jane Golden, and I run the Mural Arts Program for the City of Philadelphia. It's a job I feel totally honored to have. It's just a privilege. I wake up every morning like inspired. So I want to thank Sherilyn Eifel's here, who's like my hero, and you were awesome. Listening to you, I'm like, where can I sign up? Like, I'm going to law school now. So just thank you for all you do. Ken Frazier is not with us, but we thank him as well. I also want to thank Asagi. Where's Asagi? Thank you. And the members of the Higginbotham family are here. I want to acknowledge Kenny, his son, and of course, and Evelyn is here, whose words this morning were so stirring. You're wonderful. Oh, okay. We want to change the world. We're doing it. People are doing it. So we're here today to dedicate this extraordinary mural by Shawn Theodore called Famous Warrior. Let's have a round of applause for Shawn. It's beautiful. It's always so great when you see a mural in photographs and process, and then you see it in person, and it's like staring and wonderful. Okay. Were people cheering as they pass by? Good. We love art. This is Philadelphia. So this dedication today marks a powerful culmination of years and years and years spent working on this project. And so I want to thank the Philadelphia Citizen, the University of Pennsylvania Carey Law School, artist Shawn Theodore, the family of Justice Leon Higginbotham, and Mercy Life West Philadelphia for making this happen. They do wonderful work, and they have a wonderful wall. It is so exciting to see Justice Leon Higginbotham rendered here, larger than life, because in life he was larger than life. And that is what's so great about murals, is they capture people's hearts and soul and portray them as larger than life. And that's so inspiring. Judge Higginbotham was a trailblazer, a civil rights advocate, a federal judge for the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, a teacher, the first African-American U.S. District Judge of the District Court here in Eastern Pennsylvania, a father, a recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom, a mentor, and so many other things. His pursuit of justice started at a young age and lasted right up until the time he passed away. Judge Higginbotham described himself as a survivor of segregation, and he became one of the most influential figures in law in our country and a leader in the struggle for racial justice. He was absolutely relentless and tireless, and when we heard his words this morning as the breakfast started, I just kept thinking that there are too many of us, and myself included, who just did not know enough about this esteemed person's life. There are a number of people who will speak after me who can speak about Judge Higginbotham more eloquently than I can, but I just want to say how privileged and honored I am to be here today. And I am so grateful, as I said this morning, to Larry Platt, who for 15 years has talked about this project. 15 years, Larry Platt. He was determined that we actualize this, that we honor and share Judge Higginbotham's legacy with Philadelphia and beyond. And so I'm so grateful that we had a robust artist search, and to everyone on that committee, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. And then we picked Shawn Theodore to bring the mural to life. And Shawn Theodore is a brilliant photographer, and I have admired his work for a long time, and so it's really thrilling that we get to work together. But his photographic prowess and his mixed media sensibilities really brought a certain gravity to this mural. As you can see by the color and the design and the composition, how much everything in the mural augments his face. And his face, I heard some people in the crowd talking about, though you feel warmth, you feel strength. You feel he was so multifaceted. And I think the mural really captures the complexity and the depth of Judge Higginbotham. So Shawn, thank you so much. It's beautiful, it's thought-provoking, and I think that every person who encounters it will feel stirred, and then I hope that they go to the Citizens website or our website and will learn more about Judge Higginbotham, because we want this process to be truly generative. So with Shawn's vision lighting the way, we saw the mural here in West Philadelphia as being very important. We see this as a social justice corridor. We have other murals. We have Paul Robeson. We have the Tuskegee Airmen mural right down the street. And we have a wonderful African-American iconic images tour. If you're not from Philadelphia, please go on it. If you're from Philly, go on it because it's brilliant. We heard a lot of talk about Jackie Robinson this morning. Jackie Robinson is at Broad and Cumberland. Standing strong, standing tall, looking over the community. But in more ways than one, this was a community project. And on August 9th, despite extreme heat, we, families and young people and communities came together under Shawn's direction and actually helped paint this. And it was how art can bring community together. So it's really exciting because we want people to see themselves in the murals. And so everybody who worked on this, every time they drive by or walk by, can say, I helped with that project. And now, decades in the making, we can see a revitalization of the legacy of a remarkable person in our collective history of public art and in our city and in our nation. And we will remember the lessons that we learned from him and the battles that were won by the Honorable Judge Leon Higginbotham, Jr. The project was this wonderful collaboration. Murals have a way of knitting entities together and a way of shining a light on our difference and a diversity, and yet, there is an underscoring of our commonality and humanity, and I think this mural does that. And so I mentioned him earlier, but Larry Platt is the co-founder and co-executive director of the Philadelphia Citizen. He has championed the legacy of Judge Higginbotham, but beyond that, he has created, with the Philadelphia Citizen, a system of checks and balances in our city. Journalism is so important, and I never doubt that it is absolutely alive and thriving in Philadelphia when I read the Citizen. It's my pleasure to introduce Larry Platt.
Thank you, Jane. I always begin these public talks by saying that we're beginning the Jane Golden for Mayor campaign. But I actually want to amend that now because I want to start the Eiffel for President campaign. And also I want to acknowledge Phoebe Haddon here, Frank McClellan, I believe, is here. The legendary former U.S. Attorney and Higginbotham mentee Ed Dennis is here. They're back there. Instrumental folks in bringing this to fruition. Ken Shropshire might be here, and especially Osagi Imasogi, who sat me down and said, "This is honoring Judge Higginbotham is about more than race. It is about the need for moral leadership." That's the true legacy of Leon Higginbotham's biography. And I think we need that more than ever now, especially when rights, as Sherilyn so eloquently walked us through at the Fitler Club just a little while ago, as rights are being eroded left and right. I am not a lawyer. I tried to read Judge Higginbotham's In the Matter of Color. It's very dense. But what he did was, we hear all the time this phrase systemic racism, right? Those of us in the media throw it out there. We rarely define it. And if you crack this legendary text, what you see is a case-by-case argument for how racism has been embedded in the law from the very beginning. And you see all of the efforts to counterbalance that and to correct it and to become, to live up to the ideals of our founding creed. If you read David Blight's book about Frederick Douglass broke with the white abolitionists because they wanted to write a new constitution. And he said there's nothing wrong with the Constitution itself. In fact, he said the key word in that preamble was more, a more perfect union, right? And to me, what Judge Higginbotham, every time he spoke or wrote, what he represented was the audacity of more, that we are this nation this embryonic nation in a perpetual state of becoming. And proving that thesis, I think, was the work of Leon Higginbotham's life. And it's why he appealed to me so much. People have asked me, why Higginbotham? Well, first of all, if you hear him speak, it is the voice of God. I mean, it is that moral rectitude is just palpable. But secondly, he spoke truth to power even after he became powerful. And he did it not with anger, which we see so often these days, but with a deep, abiding love for his fellow countrymen, whether they be white or whether they be black. And this love for this act of becoming that is the American experiment. So I'll stop, but when I drive past this, from now on, when I drive past this loving but demanding gaze from now on, it will serve as a reminder for me to check in on how we're doing in this experiment of pluralism, which is unique in human history. And to ask myself, as the judge would ask of all of us every day, what else can I do to advance the cause of justice and the common good? So I can't thank you all enough for being here and for sharing in this acknowledgement, long overdue Philadelphia acknowledgement of Judge Leon Higginbotham. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think that why I feel so privileged to work with artists, and we employ hundreds of artists every year, is because they too wake up and ask themselves, what can they do to advance justice and equity? And so much can happen through the lens of art. They are truly agents of change and transformation. I don't know why art gets put over to the side, but it needs to be in the center. And when it is, glorious things can happen. So it's with great honor I introduce the artist of this beautiful mural, Shawn Theodore.
So just like Larry said, I'm so happy to have such an enthusiastic advocate in Jane. Every time I used to say, I owe you $50 for all these intros. But today I just want to speak about inspiration for a little bit. And normally I just kind of wing these things because I like being in the moment. But working on this piece was a bit more, I guess my investment was a little deeper. My family is from West Philly. We used to come up and down this street in the 80s, and it definitely didn't have this feeling of forward momentum. If anyone has ever lived in Philadelphia in the 80s, you kind of know what I mean. So I'm just going to start. I believe that art is meant to inspire. Ken Frazier said many things this morning that resonate with me personally. He spoke about the power of inspiration and mentorship, and how this mural can be the inspiration to lead a young black person toward their destiny in law. This is why I'm proud to have had the opportunity to create this mural and many others depicting the greatness of black people who, when given the opportunity, surpass expectations. Ken also said, another thing that resonated with me this morning, that talent is abundant, whereas opportunity is not. And I believe in that. I want to stop for a second. I was 16. My first few times of getting out of my neighborhood, West Oak Lane, when we moved from West Philly to West Oak Lane, I would catch the 6 trolley in. And I had this creative desire, this need to put my name on things and draw as much as I can. So at first I was a graffiti artist. That's how I met Jane. So you already know what that, relationship was like. Like, what are you doing? Why are you out there on the walls? And that was opportunity. And she hadn't seen me in a long time. My life had taken so many twists and turns, and just finding my way back home to Philadelphia was an important factor to this, but then finding my voice again in art was also instrumental. But I did not and could not have been that person without the opportunities. So first and foremost, I'm going to say thank you to Mural Arts and what they do for making sure that artists have their voice heard when necessary, and particularly our Black artists who have seen a sense of disenfranchisement in the arts. A lot of times representation in the arts does not reflect who is in the mirror. And also a lot of times we feel like we're not getting our voices out there. And I feel like that tide is sort of changed and switched over with the opportunities that many galleries and mural arts provides. I also believe in the power of mentorship as leadership. And when I look out here today, I see the net result of Judge Higginbotham's leadership and mentorship reflected in the power of everyone here. I'm thoroughly honored to being in just any kind of proximity with you all. I thank you for all of your service that you have provided to the Black community for social justice, for equity, for equality. I wanted this mural to invite a young person who might be like me out there writing their name on the wall somewhere and stop and think maybe there's a better way of increasing their power and legacy through this mural, and ask the right questions. Who is he? And then say, who am I? Thank you.
Thank you. Back in the day, I used to work for the Anti-Graffiti Network, and there was genius in our midst. Anyway, we are very grateful and humbled to have Michael Higginbotham here. I was really thrilled to meet him this summer. He is the nephew of Judge Leanne Higginbotham and a law powerhouse in his own right. Michael is a Lawrence M. Katz Professor of Law and former interim dean at the University of Baltimore School of Law. Please join me in welcoming Michael Higginbotham.
December 14, 1998, the Higginbotham family buried Leon on Martha's Vineyard Island in Massachusetts. And even though it was mid-December, it was a very warm mid-December day, 55 degrees. Today here in West Philly, November 2nd, it's 60-some degrees out here. Feels good. But I think everybody knows that Leon, his spirit, especially his warmth, is here with us today. Aloysius Leon Higginbotham Jr. was a brilliant lawyer, prolific scholar, a wise and fair judge. We heard many talk about him this morning. He was the recipient of the Spingarn Medal, NAACP. He was the recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He had over 60 honorary degrees. But quite frankly, none of that meant that much to Leon. What separated Leon out from so many other smart lawyers was his compassion, his concern, his caring for those who were less than he was, for those who were dispossessed, for those who had no hope, for those who were poor, for those who were weak, for those who were sick. Leon cared deeply for everyone in this society. And that came out in almost everything that Leon did. Why is this mural so special to the Higginbotham family? Quite frankly, Leon's story, overcoming the many obstacles that he did in his life, always impressed and inspired members of the Higginbotham family. From the time that this 16-year-old freshman at Purdue University went in and spoke to the president, Charles Eliot, and asked in the most deferential way possible, why does the university have to house the 9 black freshmen in an attic that is freezing, that is overcrowded. Can't you just allow us in a heated dorm, even if it's segregated on campus? And Charles Eliot said, the law, Leon, doesn't require me to give you any heat, and if you don't like it, you can leave. Now, you want to talk about the most negative, inspirational speech ever given? That was it. Because on that day, Leon, who was an engineering major, changed his major, transferred to Antioch, and along with Coretta Scott, who would later become Coretta Scott King, integrated Antioch. Now, why is this mural so special, so important? It's because Leon's story could now inspire many, many more. Many, many more people, not only here in West Philly, but throughout Philadelphia, throughout the state of Pennsylvania, and even maybe throughout the country. When people come to this spot, they're going to see something special. And what we want them to do, though, what we want them to do is not only see something special, but to understand what this man stood for. To understand, as Larry Platt mentioned, he spoke truth to power, not only when he wasn't powerful, but after he got the power. He continued to speak truth to power. So he spoke truth to power in 1968 in the Oval Office after Dr. King was assassinated. He spoke truth to power in 1982 when he went to South Africa in the height of apartheid, spoke against racial discrimination there and got locked up by the South African government. He spoke truth to power when Clarence Thomas was confirmed as a Supreme Court justice. And he wrote that powerful open letter to Justice Thomas, which so many individuals said, I didn't know what to kind of think until I read Judge Higginbotham's letter. And so when you think about what Leon Higginbotham stood for, those who loved him, those who will miss him, they will miss, of course, that boisterous laugh that hid the pains of racism. They will miss that loud, deep voice who, my mom says, you didn't get that. You got Leon's brain, but you didn't get his height or his deep voice. But we'll miss that deep voice that was so powerful in terms of sending out a message of justice throughout the country and throughout the world, but most importantly, those who knew him, those who loved him, will miss the compassion that he had. Because as Dr. Evelyn Brooks Higginbotham said this morning, Leon's favorite poem, his favorite poet, Langston Hughes, anytime you see this mural, anytime you come by, you want to remember what Leon embraced, that the dream today can still be alive, even though we're in difficult times, as I think everybody here knows. But Leon deeply believed in that dream, and what made it so special was he believed in the dream, but he believed in it for everyone. So as Evelyn quoted, this dream today in battle with its back against the wall, to save the dream for one it must be saved for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The University of Pennsylvania Carey Law School has been an incredible partner in bringing the legacy of Judge Higginbotham to life. We have thoroughly enjoyed working with the team there, and we're grateful to them. Next, you will hear from Theodore W. Ruger, the Dean of the University of Pennsylvania Carey Law School, and Bernard G. Siegel, Professor of Law, on how Justice Higginbotham's work will inspire the future of Penn Law. Please join me in welcoming Dean Ruger.
Thank you, Jane, and I'm honored, as the law school at Penn is honored to participate, to be a part of this worthy, overdue, important celebration. Judge Higginbotham made a tremendous impact at our law school and university, just as he did in this city and country and worldwide. And we honor him today with sincerity, with acknowledgement that the work that he inspires is not done, and that this is a happy day today, but that on other days we have work to do at the law school and in the legal profession and in this country toward the ends that he inspired us. I'm also honored and mindful, this is a wonderful convergence of metaphor and reality. We quite literally right now are in Judge Higginbotham's shadow as we sit here in light of Shawn Theodore's wonderful mural. We're all metaphorically and have been for some time and will be in the future in his shadow as he inspires us on sunny days like this or much more storm clouds gathering weather as we think to some of the gains and the principles that he advanced that were uncertainly secured in American law and policy and are very much in jeopardy today, as many of the speakers have addressed. I won't offer my own words more than that, except, again, just to say how proud and grateful we are to participate in this and that we know the work is not done. I want to mention two other groups, one that I've heard from in context of this mural, the other that I've been reading about, that also just illustrate the judge's impact far beyond his own life in ways that still reverberate today. The first is our students and our alumni. And so for more than a decade, the judge taught at the law school. He was a brilliant teacher, as you've heard, as some of you know personally. He was often the only black person or one of only a couple black people teaching at the law school at that time. And I've heard from so many alumni in the past year in connection with this project with statements like, the judge was the best teacher I had at any level of education. I would not be the lawyer, judge, professor I am today without Judge Higginbotham's class. And this is the great gift of a tremendous teacher, the gift that keeps on giving, not just cumulatively, because so many of these people, many of you here, are also teachers, educators, leaders, inspiring another generation. It's not just cumulative, right? It's exponential, it's multiplicative. That was the judge's impact as a teacher. And just as a legal educator myself, it's palpable to me in this crowd, but sort of all over the country, that his work, his vision continues through the people who he taught, who in many cases are teaching and mentoring other students. Like any great teacher and judge, he also taught and inspired other judges, not just those who followed his path-breaking opinions in the Third Circuit, but some of the very highest, most principled judges in the land. And here I'm going to quote Justice William Brennan, who wrote a wonderful article in the journal Law and Inequality in the early 90s about Judge Higginbotham's legal precedents and the way in which they influenced him and Justice Thurgood Marshall and others on the Supreme Court in that era who were working to belatedly entrench a regime of equal protection jurisprudence, due process rights, reproductive freedom, all of which is eroding and under threat today. But so for Justice Brennan, it's wonderful to think about Justice Brennan and Justice Marshall working on the cases together and reading and being impacted by the Judge Higginbotham's rulings, and they were. So Justice Brennan described Judge Higginbotham as the conscience of the legal profession, prodding us to remember law's responsibilities to those whom law once oppressed. For Justice Brennan, as some of the speakers this morning, one of Judge Higginbotham's great qualities was his legal realism, the notion that the law is constructed on centuries of oppression and can't be undone just by changing something in the law books or by looking at a certain picture out of context from the historical context it arose. So Justice Brennan quotes some, and I'm going to read you now Judge Higginbotham's words that were important to the justices on the Supreme Court. Judge Higginbotham said, the language of the law shields one's consciousness from the stark plight of its victims. We know that's true. This is something we're at risk as legal educators. We teach the law in the books, but the language of the law shields one's consciousness from the stark plight of the victims. That was true when he wrote it. It was true 100 years ago. It's true now, and we need to work against that. Justice Brennan also mentioned a particular opinion that Judge Higginbotham wrote in the I think 1980s or late 70s in an employment discrimination case. And this is what Judge Higginbotham wrote. Much of the discrimination that remains in our society resists legal attack exactly because it's so difficult to prove. Discrimination victims often come to the legal process without witnesses and with little direct evidence indicating the precise nature of the wrongs they've suffered. This is why circumstantial evidence is important in these cases. And so this is, lawyers will recognize this is an endorsement of what we call disparate impact reasoning. But more importantly, and I think about Cheryl and Eifel's talk this morning, I think about what's happening at the Supreme Court this month, the greatest threat to this momentum toward equality is the conception that discrimination only exists when it comes wrapped with a huge label that says, I'm discriminating against you. And we don't even do a good enough job at rooting that out. But Judge Higginbotham, steeped as he was in the realities of discrimination, experiencing it himself, and the poignant story about his tears in the elevator that Dr. Evelyn Higginbotham shared with us this morning. This was real, this was a human reality, and it's a reality that goes much deeper than maybe the most vivid cases of discrimination which still exist. And that's what's in jeopardy in our legal process today, is the notion that we have much more work to do rooting out disparate impact, rooting out structural racism, and so that work very much continues. I, again, just close with this notion that the judge's work lives on in all of us, it lives on with the hundreds of students he taught and the dozens of judges, including Supreme Court justices, who look to him for inspiration just as we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Before I say a few closing remarks, I do want to acknowledge the extraordinary project manager on this project, and that is Elena Ewens. Where is Elena? Elena, take a bow. I know you're here somewhere. Come up front. And Elena is a teaching artist and a wonderful artist and a project manager. Yay! Thank you. So, in closing, if you haven't read Carl Singley's article and chronology on the history of Justice Higginbotham's life, published in the Philadelphia Citizen, I highly recommend it. In it, Singley writes, Judge Higginbotham's contributions and those of other Black Philadelphia lawyers transcended Philadelphia and the legal profession and benefited generations in America and around the world, regardless of race, gender, religion, or social status. Judge Higginbotham and these other Black lawyers are authentic American heroes. I think today, as we stand in the shadow of Judge Higginbotham, we've heard both this morning and here the challenges that lie before us. The search for social justice goes on. And yet, hearing all of you today, all of you, I have to say, gives me inspiration and hope. I always say, we say this at Mural Arts, that art ignites change. But really that change is driven by all of us. And let's be undaunted and passionate and relentless in the face of all these obstacles. So I want to thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart, and an announcement from Larry Platt. He is going to publish Judge Higginbotham's open letter to Clarence Thomas in the Philadelphia Citizen, so everybody can read it and be on note. And this project really has been, now our minds at Mural Arts, we're percolating and thinking about the series of the history, trajectory, the reality of Black lawyers in the city. And we're going to do it. Woo. So thank you again. Mural Arts Month is over. It was October. I was going to wish you a happy Mural Arts Month, but it's November, but support public art. Thank you. Oh, I think we're going to cut a ribbon. No, we have confetti cannons. And we want to thank Nyla Daniel, the wonderful, our public programs person. Yay. All right, everybody.
Steve, here in the middle. You guys can stand in here.
What? Stop the presses. Stop the presses. We have somebody here who is so esteemed and so amazing and is like, when I talk about a change agent, This, if you see change agent, Senator Vincent Hughes, I have the pleasure of introducing him right now. Vincent, you're not going to get away with not saying anything.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for recognizing this. I don't know about y'all. I am not lost, and you may have spoken about this earlier, on the judge being here and Paul Robeson being down there. I'm not lost on that, and I hope no one here is lost on that. There is a connection. There is a relationship. There is a driving force from Mr. Robeson that I guess maybe in some respects created the foundation for the judge to be the kind of judge that he is and was. In many respects, Osagie still is, because it still continues. Thank you all so very much. Jane has me up here because she wants another grant from me. And with Jane, it's always the answer is yes. What's the question and what's the amount? But thank you. This is political season, and just must say, you want to honor this man? Please vote on November 8th. You really want to honor this man? Please vote on November 8th. Please vote on November 8th. The way things are going would be an affront to him and to Paul. Please do that. Tell somebody. Tell somebody there's absolute every reason to go out and vote. Thank you all very much. The struggle continues.